Hey everyone, welcome to episode 38 of Rapid Unscheduled Discussions. I'm of course your host, Seth Kurkowski as always, and with me is the beans-loving, Cajun fighting, crawfish-sucking Daryl Sausse.
Hey, you forgot hurricane dodging, given my current
that's true as well.
situation.
Hurricane dodging as well.
Yep, that's right. I am Daryl Sausse, and joining us tonight, we got an amazing astrophotographer with us. We're probably going to see some of his stuff tonight. I want to welcome to the show Wade Prunty. Thanks for joining us tonight, Wade.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, man, it's great. I went and checked you out a while back when Seth told me about you, and I was floored by the work you do, and also I check out mostly Instagram, and I was even starting to drool over some of the gear that you have too, because man,
we'll be talking about the gear eventually tonight because I have some questions.
Yeah,
there's some things I see and I don't understand.
I've definitely tried dabbling a little bit earlier this year when it was still, cool outside and bearable to be outside. And I'm waiting for the summer to finally quit once and for all, and then I'll get back out and do some more. But man, the gear I have versus the gear you have for astrophotography, I've learned, the astrophotography is a completely different field. When you really start getting into deep sky objects and things like that. You know what? Let's start there. Let's tell us a little bit about the gear you had.
Yeah, so I met Wade for Clear Skies Network. I was watching a stream and I saw this kind of stuff. I'm like, I need to have this guy on. I need to talk to him. So Wade, talk to us a little bit about like yourself, like what do you do, who you are, stuff like that. A little bit about Clear Skies Network, I guess, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty after that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I am here in Texas. I live right next to the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, DFW Airport. So it is a Bortle 9 zone, and if you're not familiar with astrophotography, Bortle 9 or astronomy at all, Bortle 9 is the highest light pollution you can have. So I don't get to do visual astronomy. So when people talk about visual astronomy, I assume that they're talking about looking at visual pictures on the screen, because that's all I get, and eyepieces aren't worth anything for me. They don't do a thing for me here. And let's see, started about, so a couple years ago I got a Dobsonian mount, which is it's a Newtonian tube. It's a reflector, so it's got a mirror inside of it. Light goes down the tube, hits a primary mirror, bounces back up, hits a secondary mirror, which then pushes it out to an eyepiece or camera, anything you want to have in that area. And so I got one for Christmas. Now, I was going to say this. I was trying to figure out how I was going to say this, because a while ago when we were in the waiting room waiting for this, you brought up Daryl being a Saints fan. So I just wanted to give a big Houdat shout out, because I'm actually from Louisiana.
Oh,
and,
no. I have two
yes,
of them. No.
Yes. What part?
I'm from the northwest. I'm from Shreveport.
Okay.
So where are you at?
I am in New Orleans.
You are in New Orleans. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'd spent a lot of time down in the Donaldsonville area.
Okay.
Down in Donaldsonville, Eunice, Lafayette, all that. So I am. It's funny. So on the Clear Skies Network, we joke a lot about crawfish because I'm always talking about crawfish season, and a lot of the guys from California and stuff, they just don't understand it, and I'm like, man, it'll change your life.
All I know is you have to pinch the tail and suck the head. That's all I know.
Right.
That's all I know. That's from a meme. That's all
I'm going to tell you something. I actually, he'll probably say I'm a Yankee. I'm from up north, but it takes a lot of alcohol for me to suck the heads. I'll just be honest with you.
It's not for the faint of heart. I'll give you that. I don't do it with everyone. I do it with some of them, but once the heat starts to build up after you've been peeling at them for a while, it's like, all right, I got to lay off of the heads for a bit.
Right. So I got for Christmas one year, a couple years ago, my parents bought me a telescope for Christmas. I was like, how old was I at the time? Like 35 years old, and got a telescope for my parents for Christmas. And I took it outside and couldn't see nothing. It was Christmas. It was cloudy. People had their chimneys going, everything, so couldn't really see anything. But I took it home and I looked through it at my apartment out in the Dallas area, and saw the moon with it one night and was just blown away. Couldn't believe what I was seeing. Movies don't do it justice. Pictures that that I had seen just did not do it the same for me as seeing it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing visually you can enjoy with a telescope. And so I just fell in love with it, and the first thing I wanted to do was share that experience. So I started trying to figure out how I could take a picture of it and everything, and got the equipment. My wife now, she was my fiance at the time, she's a photographer, and she had some cameras, so I used one of her cameras and got T-rings and T-adapters and hooked it up to this telescope, and I took my first images, and I was hooked right there. So, I was like, I opened my wallet and was like, take all my money, like everything I have.
Yep. We all know the photography trouble. Right. Just take my money. Like, just take it.
Yeah. So I'm a musician. I'm a guitar player, and I don't trade guitars. I buy guitars. You'll never see one leave, and this owning guitars, buying guitars, being a musician doesn't hold a candle to paying for astrophotography.
No. Everything I've done is like, oh yeah, it's expensive. And then you get into photography, like, oh, just dropping $5,500 casually on a camera,
right?
Like nothing.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly
just the
right.
Camera, and you have less features than the $3,000 one. Like,
so we bought my wife a D750 a few years ago, a Nikon D750, and I got it for around $1,200 at the time, which was really, really good. But man, we were just like, man, this is so expensive. It was her first full frame camera and all this, and oh man, it was just so expensive. And now I'm like, hey babe, Starlight Express has this camera. It's only like $5,500. We could probably save up for that, right? And she's just looking at me like, what? So anyway, that's the equipment. It can get pricey, but we'll get there in a minute. So about let's see, it was so my wife now, my father-in-law actually is really big into photography and astronomy. He had built his own Dobsonian telescope. And so that was kind of cool that I had someone I could talk to about it, but he didn't really. He's more into the visual part of it. He likes the idea of astrophotography, but he just never went in on all the money and everything to do that. So but it's still, he was someone that I could talk to and kind of get an idea of what I was doing. When I bought my first actual setup for astrophotography, it was early 2019. And I was, I really almost bought a go-to Dobsonian, which now I know would have not been the best idea. But it was because of him, talking to him and everything, you know, and finding out, you know, an equatorial mount, which is a mount that is set up to either the north or south celestial pole. So it moves with the exact motion of the Earth. And that's how you can lock on to a star or onto a target in space and take images, these long exposures without the image rotating or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So he was the reason that I made the right decision there for that. But I started watching. I was watching a lot of YouTube at the time, and Dylan O'Donnell from Australia. I don't know if y'all have ever watched his channel or Star Stuff or anything like that.
I think I've come across his work. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah. So Dylan is he was the first guy I started watching, and he had an Edge. It was a Celestron. It was a Schmidt Cassegrain telescope. It was an Edge HD 9 1/4 telescope, and he was just doing these awesome photos with it. And I was like, if he can do that with those in Australia, then I can do it here in Texas. So I bought a combination, the Edge HD with a Celestron CGX mount. I was like, I'm going to use the, I'm going to rescue my wife's D750 from her and liberate it from her and use it to take awesome photos with it. And don't tell her I said that. She does take awesome photos. But I was going to, use this and everything. And I got it set up, and I got outside, and I'm doing these 2-star, like this all-star polar alignment, and these I was aligning the stars and getting all set up, and then I would point to my target and I would take pictures, and there would be no target there. It was just nothing. It was just stars, and I could never find the images, the targets that I was looking for. Mm-hmm. So this went on for about a year. It took me a year, and then this year in February, I actually took my first successful astrophotography deep sky object picture.
What was that?
So it was M42. So
Okay.
the Orion Nebula, which is probably one of the most popular images, especially for newcomers, because it's so bright in the sky, and you can use just factory stock DSLRs on it. You can't do that with all targets, but you can with this, and that's it. And that's what astrophotography companies should always promote M42, because when somebody images that, they'll get hooked and then find out they'll have to buy other cameras, do what they want to do, right?
Yeah.
It's like that hook, that gets you. So so that's what I started out on. And my point to all that was I bought way too much gear for someone that was new. Mm-hmm. And it took me a really long time to learn how to use it and to actually how to start imaging with it. And so that's what I started out on. Now I have I've learned a few things. I have I have a wide field setup. I have a long focal length setup, and then I can go in between those. And so what that means is, in case anyone watching, listening doesn't know, the long focal length means that I can see some of these targets. I can see them really, like it's almost like zooming in. It's not zooming in, but I'm getting out there and I can see those really small targets. Mm-hmm. Wide field means I'm not going to be as zoomed in, for lack of a better term, but I'm going to be able to get large amount, like a large wide field of view in the image. So you can have one or the other. Now, with a long focal length, what you can do is something called a mosaic, and you can take a ton of pictures in that area, put them together, and make a wide field view that has all that close-up detail in it. But that's a whole nother level. That's a whole, that takes that's not something you start off doing on day one, right?
No, so, that sounds really difficult. It sounds like it's more of a pain It needs to be. Yeah.
So, well, so once you get there and you start doing it and you learn it, it becomes second nature. So, but it's not one of those things, like I said, you should start out on. You should start out on the easier stuff, and once you get comfortable with it, that next step isn't so hard. And that was my point in saying that I started out with too much gear. I started out with too much scope when I started, is because I shouldn't have done that. I should have started out smaller and taken baby steps, and I probably would have got there a lot faster. But I didn't. I started with this big, just super telescope right out of the gate, and I couldn't. Man, I tell people all the time. I tell the story that there was one night that I just had it, and it was the night I almost just took everything down to the corner and just left it for the garbage.
Oh.
And now I wouldn't have done that. I would have sold it on Astromart or something like that. But it was
Right.
that's my just it was that night I had enough. I was just done with it, and I just couldn't figure out what was going on. And I sat down and turned on YouTube, and all the channels, all the stuff I'd been watching now had been astrophotography stuff. So a video by a guy named Trevor, Astro Backyard.
Oh, I love his stuff.
Yeah,
He is
and
great.
We all know who that is.
He inspired me to give it a try.
yeah, so he had a video on the QHY Pole Master for polar alignment, and I'd never seen that before, and I had a suspicion that's where my problems were coming from. But I saw that video and I ordered it that night and had it overnighted, paid. I don't even remember what it was. Had it overnighted to me, and so it got there like not the next day, but the day after that.
Yeah.
Threw it on there, and that was like early February of this year, and I got the Pole Master, threw it on there, got actually polar aligned for the first time, and slewed and hit M42 and took my first image.
For us who don't know, what was it, QH42 you said?
QHY Pole Master.
Okay, what is that?
So what it is it's a little camera you throw on the front of your telescope, and it goes on into so it's looking at your north celestial pole or your south celestial pole.
It's like an electronic viewfinder, kind of like that, or
It's a camera. It's an actual camera.
oh, it's an actual camera. Okay, gotcha.
So and it has software that goes along with it, and that what it does is it takes an image of the sky, and then it has you rotate the RA deck on the mount, so it just moves sideways, so the telescope stays pointing in the same direction.
Gotcha.
It just moves to the side, left or right. So and it has you move it a few times. It takes pictures, and then it takes those images and calculates. It does a plate solves that, and it calculates how far off you are from polar alignment, and then shows you how to use your alt azimuth controls on your mount to get perfectly centered and polar aligned.
Wow, so
Gotcha.
there's like I need one of those instead of the mount I have. I mean, the mount I have, for entry, I mean, all this stuff's expensive, but for entry and trying to use all my regular photography gear, I got the Ioptron Skyguider Pro with the built-in camera, not the one you gotta align by your eye.
The iPolar, but not the iPolar. You just got the actual.
Oh, with the
scope.
iPolar.
Oh, it did come with the iPolar. Okay.
It did come with the iPolar. I'm kind of wishy-washy on whether or not I should have got the other one, because it's really convenient to have that camera built in there and not, strain my back, getting on the ground, looking through it, anything like that. But I also, bought myself just a really dirt cheap Windows laptop just to connect that to, because it won't work with a Mac. I still have not gotten around to putting boot camp on any of my Mac stuff.
Right.
But the hardest lesson I learned, I was using that thing for about 2 months and whatnot, and then it hit me. Duh, idiot, level your tripod.
Right.
Basic photography stuff. Level your tripod.
level your tripod.
That's kind of important.
Yeah. It's usually step one when set up a tripod. Make sure it's level.
Yeah. After that, I wasn't traveling anywhere. I still have not narrowed down a good spot here in Southeast Louisiana to go to that I'm comfortable with going to in the middle of the night for all night.
Yeah.
So I've been trying stuff in the front yard. So it's mostly been a practice with the setup. I think the setup is there. grabbing all the different exposures that I need and everything like that. It's just I need a spot. You said you're in a Bortles 9 in Dallas. I'm, one step below you. I'm in an 8.5.
Right.
So I'm not really getting much from here. I need to get out and do stuff, and then I'll work on filtering it, so I can do it right from the front driveway.
Yeah, yeah.
But with Orion coming back up in the sky, though, it's about to be easy target season for me.
Right. That's
it's Nebula, like Orion hunting season, pretty much now.
Kind of.
Yeah. So Orion actually comes up at about like 3 or 4 in the morning right now, so you can get a couple hours before the sun comes up. But he'll start coming around a little bit earlier, and it's the, it gets cold, and so it's either cloudy, or the sky really clears, right? So like when it's cold outside and it's not cloudy, it's like clear. When it's hot, when it's still 97 degrees outside, when the sun goes down, it's, you still get that, like when you're looking behind the jet of an airplane, right?
Yeah.
And you can see that haziness.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this time of year, like right now it's 39 degrees outside. I don't know where that came from, but 39 degrees outside.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
and so
I think it's like in the 70s right now where I'm at, I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
I wish I
it's
was there.
yeah, it's cold,
sorry,
man.
Sorry, 81.
My wife sent me out to grill hot dogs for dinner, and I walked outside and I went, woo!
Dude,
it hit
in
me.
Wisconsin, we'll grill brats until it's like -30. Once there's too much snow for the grill, that's when we stop.
Right.
Once the snow's gotten like over 4 feet, that's when we gotta.
Yeah.
No effort. Too much effort.
Well, thankfully, once this hurricane passes me on Wednesday night, I get an immediate cold front right after.
Yes.
You know what I'm jealous about your hurricanes? You get great sunrises and sunsets.
No one else thinks about that.
Yeah.
Other than me, who likes taking photos of sunrises and sunsets, you get great sunrises. You've been getting all of them all year. We've gotten one.
That's like saying, I know it's a hurricane, but man, the weather in that eye, man, it's just awesome. That's just some of the best weather.
Yeah, this is great. That eye wall. I love it when the eye wall hits so much.
Yeah.
So Wade, a technical question for you, because there's a friend of ours in chat. You mentioned with the polar alignments and whatnot. We've gone back and forth about what's a polar align off of. In the northern hemisphere, obviously Polaris, real easy. It's right there. You don't have to look too hard for it. What do you look for in the southern hemisphere?
It's I believe it's called the Southern Cross. I'm not 100% sure of that, just because I don't do it. But I mean, but I'm pretty sure just from watching like Dylan O'Donnell's. Hey, Stella, I see you're in there. What's up, Stella? Stella Astro here is from Australia. She's one of our. She actually streams on Clear Skies Network.
Oh, nice.
And so she's down there. What I think it's the Southern Cross that they. So we have Polaris, but Polaris is not. Polaris just gives us an idea of where to point our mount at. Polaris is not the actual northern celestial pole. It's just it's really close to it. So if we can get our mount pointed sort of to it, then we can kind of figure it out from there. I think the Southern Cross is the same way for the southern pole. So the Pole Master, the software for it, and just so you know, there's a Mac version for that one. The Pole Master is you can do north or south celestial poles with it. So if you have that tool, you can use that. And now look, if y'all said y'all like Trevor, and Trevor likes to do things. A lot of things, the hard way sometimes. I think he just likes it because he started out doing that, and he likes sticking with sitting outside doing it, running some of the software that he runs and everything. And I don't have a problem with that. But if you are having a hard time, and you're at the point where you're ready to go set all your equipment down at the corner for the trash guys to pick up, there are some tools out there that can help you, and like the PoleMaster, the iPolar, like you were talking about. I tell you what. Uh, are y'all familiar with the ASI Air Pro?
Nope.
Yes,
Okay, so
I am.
I don't
Seth
do
hasn't really gotten
astrophotography.
into
I
it
take
yet.
photos of rockets and sunrises. That's it.
well,
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of photography that we mostly do. I'm
Right.
just getting into astrophotography. Seth is yet to dive into it, but I may be
want
spending
to.
the first half of November
yeah,
into it.
I need more money.
Okay.
That's
Well,
my
so-
dilemma.
So Daryl said that he bought a cheap laptop, right? So he could run the iPolar off of it and
Yep.
do polar alignment.
Yep.
Okay. So the ASI Air Pro is a Raspberry Pi device,
Mhm.
and it is where astrophotography is going. That will not be stopped. It's a Raspberry Pi device, and they have a app for it, iOS or Android, and you just run that app off of it, and it controls everything. It controls 99% of everything that astrophotographers would want to control, just minus like if you actually had an observatory with like a roll-off roof or something like that, it wouldn't control that. You'd have to still do that some other way. But
Yeah, Daryl,
everything
I can see
else,
you building one of those in your backyard.
yeah. So it will control your mount.
Mhm.
It will do a polar alignment for you. It will run you through that process it will actually use your camera, not your iPolar or PoleMaster or anything like that. It will use your actual camera that you're imaging with to do the polar alignment. It will then control that camera. It will so it'll do the acquisition with it. It can control if you have a ZWO EAF focuser. It'll control focusing on the telescope. It will control filter wheel, so all your filters. It'll control everything. It'll do a meridian flip, which is once your telescope will start in one direction, and it will move to the zenith, the center of the sky at night, and it'll get to the point where it can't really go much further, right? In that direction. So what it'll do is it'll flip everything around and turn the camera and the telescope to where it's pointing at the exact same spot, but now from the other side, so it can continue to rotate. And it'll rotate the rest of the night. So that's called your meridian flip, and it'll do all of that for you. And it'll also do what is the best thing since sliced bread for astrophotography. Is it does alignment, or what used to be called plate solving. And so it'll go to where it thinks a target is in the sky. It will take a quick photo of it, and then it will analyze that photo against a database of photos and say, am I where I think I'm at? If it is not, it will update where you actually are and then move the mount to where you're supposed to be. And it'll do that a couple of times until it's perfectly centered on the target you're trying to image.
So like, you think you're smart? No. Let me fix this for you.
Yeah, basically. Wow.
So it is. So this device does all of that. Now there's software out there too that you don't have to have a Raspberry Pi. You could have a Windows laptop or a Mac or something like that, and you could do your astrophotography and use other software. This is just like I said, this has an iOS app and an Android app, and that's what makes this so awesome, is because honestly, the generations that are coming up now, they're not looking for these applications that we're using on our PCs to do this. They're not looking for these some of these things. They look like they were written when Windows 95 was still out, and they just never changed the user interface or anything that, right? They're not looking for that. They don't want that. They want that app look, right? You guys write for for 9 to 5 Mac, you're those type of users, that's what they're looking for, is that they want that app that does, like, they could manually do that, but you could also code that to do it. They want someone that coded that into
They
an
want
app
an app for that.
to do it. That's exactly
Steve Jobs
right.
would say they want an app for that.
And the ASI Air Pro is the first one from ZWO, is the first one to come out with that and do that. And it is, and they didn't just do it, they did it right. And it's great. The only issue with that is that some of the things, so ZWO builds a lot of things, and if they build something, they won't support a vendor's version of it. So like, they're not going to support Astro cameras from QHY or Attic or anything like that. You're going to have to buy a ZWO Astro camera. Right. But they do support a large list of Canon and Nikon and some other stuff, other cameers.
Really? So I don't need a new actual camera to image with.
You might not. You need to go to their site to check that out. I know they just came out with a version 1.5, and they actually updated their list of cameras too. They added a larger list. But I use a Canon T3i. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that.
Yep.
That I've done an Astro mod on, and I use that all the time with that. The D750 works with it. From Nikon, so they have a large list of, and I think they even support some Sony, some of the new mirrorless Sony A series cameras, things like that. So there's a chance that that would work with it. But if it's something that they make specifically, so Astro cameras, you'd have to use their filter wheel, you'd have to use their focuser on this. So that's the only gotcha with the ASI. But they're so popular that a lot of people, that's what they have. They actually do have ASI guide camera or an Astro camera or the ASI filter wheel, things like that. So anyway, there are some other things that are coming out where people are trying to compete, but they're like, it's like, so in the IT world, I said this once and people thought I was misspoken. I said they need someone, I was talking about another company, they need to hire a UX guy. Y'all understand UX, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So experience.
That's right. So they actually, it looks like they hired not just someone that can work on the user interface, the UI, but they actually hired a UX person that actually worked with them and goes, okay, that's great that it can do that, but it's ugly, so we need to fix that, right? Someone that can kind of, developers are awesome, they can do a lot of great things, but developers sometimes they just don't have, they're just not that creative when it comes. They just want it to work, and the moment they get
Trust
it to
me,
work,
I know the struggle.
right?
I'm like the only developer. At my old company, I was the only developer who had a sense of UI and UX, and it was so irritated.
Yeah. So it seems like, so they did that right. ZWO is really the only one so far that has done that right. So I highly recommend, if your equipment works with that, I highly recommend it. And
I've already got the Pro pulled up.
Yeah.
I'm looking through the stuff right now.
He's about to get 5 before the show ends. That's usually how this stuff goes sometimes. He pulls something up and you go like, yep, I bought it during the show.
Maybe. No, surprisingly, I don't know how up to date the product page is, but with all of the DSLR cameras they've tested and whatnot, I see one of my 4 cameras. Actually, I see 2 of my cameras listed. No, I see 3 out of 4 of them listed. The only thing surprising me,
do we have a 4?
No, we don't, because it doesn't list the EOS R.
Sold at 3.
You know what though? That might be, and people are listening to us talk about that. We might see that come up. So you do have the EOS R. Yeah, that somebody might pop up and say, hey, that works, because that might be part of. I don't think that list on their website is actually updated.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They have a Facebook group that they where they do a lot of their testing and stuff, and they might have, if you look up ZWO's Facebook page, they might have a link there I'm not on Facebook, but I still I go to their page, and Facebook tries to get me to sign up every time I go. I still go to their page a lot and keep up with their, because that's where they announce a lot of their stuff. So they might have the details on what 1.5 supports on their Facebook page.
So while we're talking about gear, all right, we're talking about how image and stuff like that. Have you guys ever seen the show Hot Ones?
I have not. It sounds familiar though.
So it's basically a YouTube video, and you eat hot wings. It's an interview thing. But he has this segment called "Explain That Graham," right?
Right.
We don't use this. We don't copy this, but this picture plays perfectly. Can you please tell us what are you doing to this poor Mac Mini? What?
So, earlier this year, I was sitting there and I was looking for a way to automate everything I was doing. And I was on the CEO of OPT OPT Corp out in California. They a telescope store out there. His name is Dustin, and Dustin does he especially when the coronavirus stuff happened, nobody could hang out, nobody could see each other, so everybody was trying to figure out, hey, what can we do to to communicate and talk and everything. He started doing the Instagram live videos. And so Dustin was on there and he was talking, and that's how I found Clear Skies Network. There's a lot to this story, but that is how I found Twitch. I'd never heard of Twitch before that. And he had, he was on Twitch at night, and that's how I got on and started doing. I started really learning astrophotography, learning processing and stuff. But one day on one of his Instagram live streams, one of the guys that I had been talking to on the Twitch stream was on there, and we were talking, and Dustin mentioned something to him about getting a piece of software working on his Mac Mini called Ecos, which is a plugin, or not a plugin, but it's the acquisition part of a larger software called K-Stars, which is a planetarium software. And I was like, on a Mac Mini? Well, I just, for Christmas, at Christmas time, I had bought the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, and I had replaced my Mac Mini with it. It was the 2012, and it just sitting here, and I was like, man, what am I going to do with this? It's got 16 gigs of RAM in it. It's got, I've got a 512 gig SSD drive in there. What am I going to do with this thing? And I was like, man, if I could use this for acquisitioning, that would be awesome. So I took it. I put the software on it. I started working. His name's Ryan. Started working with Ryan. With him, he was doing it at the same time, and we got it up and running. And I built a bracket. My first time working with aluminum, I built a bracket so I could mount it to the dovetail on top of my scope, and got it up there. And I do 100% of my. So that scope that you were looking at, that's that Edge 9 1/4. That's the one. That's that one I bought first, and that I do all of my acquisition through the Mac Mini with Ecos on there. So so that Mac Mini rides on top of that thing all night long.
Wow.
And
that's hilarious. There's like someone walking and be like, what? Okay. Because when I saw that, I'm like, I don't understand how you can take photos with a Mac Mini hooked to a telescope. It just doesn't make sense to me, but okay.
And it's funny. It's because if you look at those images, any of the images that I shot with that telescope using the Mac Mini, I always hashtag Apple in there. I'm like, come on, guys, see this. See this. Come on, contact me. Come on. So
you gotta do that. What is it called? Shot on Mac Mini.
Right.
Shot on iPhone, shot on Mac Mini.
Shot on Mac Mini. That's right. So anyway, that's what I use. That's just I'm a tinkerer. I'm an IT guy. I was a systems engineer, network engineer for 20 years, and I'm an architect now. And I just like to take things apart. I've got an actual Raspberry Pi sitting here that I'm working on for to do some other stuff with for astrophotography. So I just like building things, putting things together, and so this hobby actually, because nobody has 100% of everything you need in this hobby, and it takes tinkering, and so this hobby was really right up my alley. So, but yeah. So anyway, that's
the Mac Mini story.
That's the Mac Mini story, and it's sitting up there on my roof right now. Let's see.
Because can't you remotely go into your?
Yeah, so I just so I have it's not on my roof. It's on we had our patio replaced out back, and I built it as a telescope platform. So it's a torsion box. It keeps it from twisting and moving. When you get to rebuild your
patio, you'll be like, I want it to hold a telescope too. Like,
wow.
So I was like, I mean, if we're gonna do this, let's make this pretty sweet, And you should have seen the contractor's face when I brought him out here.
I need to make the other people jealous.
Right.
I got that clout. I gotta keep on bringing, dude.
Actually, I don't need to do that. But let me. I'll show you real quick. So, in their screen. Let's go. Let me just make sure that is moving. And then I think I have it. If I go to, whoa, sorry about that.
Get all the data. Get all the data.
So you see that right there?
Oh my gosh.
So those are two scopes sitting up there, and that far one over there, at the very top of that little bulge at the very top of that's the Mac Mini. So. So that's it, sitting up there, man.
Do they sit up there permanently, pretty much, or?
Yeah, I mean, I rarely take them down. If we've got hail coming, or a tornado warning or something, if like they're saying, okay, it looks like we're gonna have tornadoes tonight or something, I'll take all that down. But some of that stuff. So when we're talking about equipment, I moved to what's called a Paramount MX Plus mount for that telescope over there, the big one. That's it's software bisque Paramounts are some of the best mounts you can buy, and I got it because of that focal length. That I got tired of my stars looking like eggs, being egg shaped whenever my images would come in. So it's heavy, man. It's a beast, and so it's not something that you want to set up and take down every night. And I used to do that. I used to do it, and then I finally just got tired of it, and I got one of these Telegizmos covers. I can't remember their exact name, but they're weatherproof. They have a solar like heat shield on the inside, so it doesn't let everything get cooked when it's sitting out in the sun.
Wow.
And so they pretty much stay there. So
that's like the equivalent of us getting get a Pelican case and some padlocks and
right.
Put that inside another Pelican case and thermal isolate it. Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, there's some people out there when we go to rocket launches to see remote setups. Some of the people out there have some crazy remote camera setups to take photos from on the pad.
Don't give away their secrets.
What?
Don't give away their secrets. That's for them to do, not us.
Are they allowed drones out there?
No.
Really?
No, that's an easy way to get a felony.
Right, I was wondering about that.
That's first way to jail.
Actually,
with some strong-armed. The people who can fly drones are like SpaceX can fly drones, ULA can fly drones, NASA can fly drones.
Basically, just the launch provider
who are hired by them to fly drones. But like media, you can't. I don't even know if we can even. I thought about getting the DJ Osmo 2 or DJ Pocket, DJ Osmo Pocket, I think it's called, the new one, and put that on a monopod, and do some like cool B-roll stuff and like do like a crane shot type looking thing. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that because that's like sticking a pulp in the air and getting like a nice big 360 video of like all the launch pads around you.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to clear that fire with Jim before I do that. Like, hey, I'm not like spying on SpaceX and stuff over the ridge there. I promise. I'm just doing some cool B-roll shots.
Now, Wade, you said you You talked about a crazy focal length. What kind of focal lengths are we talking here?
My edge, the 9 1/4 is native is 2350 millimeter. If I put a reducer on it, which I use a lot, is it is 1645 millimeter. So when you get over that well, not even 1,000, I'd say when you get over that 1500 millimeter focal length, you start getting into some real deep sky objects. You really get to start imaging some really, either smaller objects or the big objects. You can get into the middle of them and see detail in the middle of them you normally wouldn't be able to. Well, not in detail. You'd be able to see it, but it wouldn't be, in great detail. So,
Right.
But you don't have to have that, man. You do not have to have those big focal lengths. And I wanted to say this. I know we only have like 12 minutes until, I guess it'd be 10 o'clock for you guys. I wanted to show y'all something. So let me bring this over. I'm not trying to just show off here.
Dude, show off. We love it.
Yeah.
Show right
Go
off.
for it.
Just flex.
But it sounds like you and maybe your listeners really would like to get into this, and I want you to understand that you don't have to have. So that one telescope sitting back there that I showed y'all just a second ago, the one that's got the Mac Mini on it, that's about $15,000 sitting under that.
Sounds about right. Yeah, I've looked at some
cover.
At some equipment. I'm like, yeah, 15,000 sounds about right.
Right. So, but you don't have to do that at all. Now I'm going to show y'all something. And you were talking about your Skyguider Pro. I have a Skyguider Pro and found out right after I bought it that it probably wasn't the best buy for me at the time. I like it if I'm using like a 50 millimeter lens.
Yeah.
Because I can get all kinds of stuff, and I don't have to be perfect when I'm framing to get a target. I can get just a really good view at maybe 50 millimeter, but when I want to get an actual good target with it, I can't find it on there because it's not a go-to, right?
Right.
You actually have to point it. So when we're talking about arc seconds and things in the sky, you're looking for something in the sky that's the head of a needle, right? And you're trying to point at that, right? So it's kind of hard to do if you're new to this, or if you're like me and you live in borderline skies and you don't have guide stars to follow to get to a target, right? I can only see a few stars at night when they come out, and I can't find targets when I'm doing that. So let's see. So I've got this up, and I'm going to show y'all something. I had to move it over to this screen, but here, let's see. So can y'all see this?
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay. So this is NGC 7000, which is known as the North America Nebula. Now, if you're looking at it from here, it kind of looks like maybe the United States of America Nebula.
I see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I see it. New England and the lakes.
Right. But if you were to turn that clockwise 90 degrees, this down here would be the Gulf of Mexico. And Mexico, and then Florida would come up here, and then the East Coast would run this way.
Yeah.
So that's where
that's
this.
the other way, where we get to have Wisconsin in there, New England.
Yeah.
I like that one.
So this is the North America. So I had to point that out because I got some hate mail in Discord over this when I was joking about it being this being the East Coast and everything. Somebody did not like that. And
it looks more like the East Coast. You look like you have Mexico down the bottom and.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess if that's the Hudson Bay up top, that's like really big. But...
No, I think that would be right. This is the
New England area.
This is the Great Lakes and everything.
Yeah. So... just cut Michigan out. I love Michigan. I was born there, but sorry. It's
So anyway, so this is that image. Just getting in a little closer. So,
That's a good photo.
all right. Well, this image here was taken on a $350 mount. It was it's the Explore Scientific iExos 100 mount. I had to pay $99 for. It doesn't come with the azimuth adjustment, which is weird. I don't know why, but I paid the $99 for this little thing to go on the mount. So this cost me. It was $350 plus another $100. So it cost me $450 for this mount. So that mount that's up on the roof is about 10 grand, the one I was talking about that's sitting under. This one is $450 all in. That's what I paid. So so now I used a camera and some filters that a friend of mine sent me to test out. But you could get that camera and filter. You could get it for you could use. I mean, you could do a filter and camera for $2 grand, maybe Astro camera and filters and all of that. So, but my point in this is that, and I used called. Have y'all seen the Red Cat?
Yes.
William Optics Red Cat.
Yeah, they're hard to find.
I've heard
too.
of it. Is it like a little red kind of like?
It
metal?
is.
Yep.
Okay, I saw someone actually using it to take photos of a rocket launch one time.
Yep.
So you got some pretty good photos.
It's that's what it is.
Don't ask me how. Don't ask me how.
So it's a telescope, but you can. It is a telescope. It's a quad. It's got 4 lenses in it. So 4 optics inside of it. So it's a telescope, but a lot of people use it for bird watching, for things like that. But they came out with one called the Space Cat, and all it is it's silver. It's a gray color instead of red. And I got the Space Cat when it came out earlier this year, and that was one of the hardest things to find. But they're like $700, $750 for that thing. So this is 250 millimeter of focal length. That's all it is. And this is pretty much that whole image. I pretty much I didn't lose very much at all around the edges. So close to 250 millimeter, and then the sensor size is only a 4/3 sensor. So actually, that's just a little bit of of that, but it's at 250 millimeter focal length. So anyway, so this is, I sat out for 21 days in my front yard in August 1st through August 21st, from sunset to sunrise, because I had someone else's camera out there, so I couldn't let it walk away.
Right.
And then I had to be up at work at 8 in the morning. So for 21 days I sat out there and imaged this, and I came away with 120 hours of data. And once I stacked it, I had some clouds. Elon with his Starlinks got in the way on a few of them. I came away with 106.3 hours of data in a Bortle 9 area, and that's where this image came from. So that's my bragging on this. That's the one part of me bragging on this image. But
that's some bragging right there.
But my point is, if you have a 75 to 200 millimeter lens, or I think Canon's 75 to 300 millimeter. The Nikon is like 70 to 300 millimeter. If you have a lens like that,
I mean, we got 150 to 600s.
Yeah. So I mean, so there you go. So I mean, you can do things like this with that equipment. You don't have to have $15,000 worth of equipment sitting on your roof. The only reason I have $15,000 worth of equipment sitting on my roof is because I bought that telescope and I was going to make sure that sucker worked. And I got so tired. I was having some issues with my mount, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a mount and make that work. I'm going to get the best mount I possibly can, and that's what I ended up with. So, so that's all pretty much me being bullheaded that I have that up there. When my best image that I have ever taken has to be this image. So this is just, really, you probably already have a DSLR and a lens,
Mhm.
and then you get, you spend a little bit of money, $450 on a mount, and then you can either use your computer to control it. You can buy an ASI Air Pro, and I use the ASI Air Pro on this. So
I think I'm gonna get get that ASA Air.
okay,
Uh,
so remember with your Skyguider Pro,
Mhm.
you can't do Go 2 on that. So
right.
so you don't have a deck motor. You have an RA motor on it, but you don't have a deck motor. So the ASI Air Pro can't fully control that mount to get it to go somewhere. You would still have to have a mount with a Go 2 on it. And I'm just going to tell you, I highly recommend that to anybody. It's great learning the Sky. I'm all in on learning the Sky, and I am learning the Sky. But if I waited until I actually knew where things were, I wouldn't have. I'd probably get more frustrated. I wouldn't have anything to show for it, right? Because it just, like I said, I'm in Bortle 9 skies. You're in Bortle 8.5. You just can't see this stuff up there as easy as someone in a 4 or a 5 that can go out and pull a line and then use a green laser and point it up, with their scope and line it up and get it up there. I mean, I can't even shoot that. I have a laser that I have aligned. I got a Picatinny rail from an AR-15 hooked up to my scope, so I could put a green laser on it that I could adjust, so I could line it up during the day. Right, so I could line it up during the day. So I would point the sucker exactly where something was supposed to be, and it wouldn't land on it. I'd spend all night and finally find the target, but I'd only have like 10 minutes left to image, and then would be so frustrated. So that's where I was with my Skyguider Pro.
Dang.
But anyway, but I still love it for Milky Way, like whole Milky Way shots, like that 50mm scope shots. It's so good for that. That's its bread and butter right there.
Yeah.
But when you get people like Trevor out there using it, of course they can hit things like this, but that's because they're like, they know this stuff. They're so good at it, right? They have so much experience. So anyway.
So here's actually. Sorry. Go ahead. You finish.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You brought up something about Starlink, which is actually interesting because we've had a lot of like rocket launch photographers, or people in the more rocket launch area,
right?
And we're all pretty much pro Starlink. We've never had someone who's straight up astrophotography. So like, what are your thoughts on Starlink? I guess.
All right. So I'm a practical type of guy, man. What Starlink is doing is I commend Elon Musk for that. Getting internet to everyone, everywhere. That's going to be awesome. I don't have a problem with that. For astrophotography, when you're talking about actual camera photography, we're smart. We're going to be able to create software that'll pull the Starlink out of the image. We're gonna be able to do something to that order, right? Mm-hmm. We're gonna be able to update our stacking software that it'll know what Starlinks are, and it'll stack your images, and it'll just find the Starlink ones and pull them out. Or maybe even not just pull them out completely, but use the part of the image that doesn't have the Starlink, the link, doesn't have the satellite going through it, but actually everything else in it is good, Yeah. So we're going to be able to get around that. The problem is, so I have some good friends that are part of Clear Skies Network, also asteroid hunters, and they're doing real deal science, looking for near Earth objects and things like that. Starlink really can hurt them. Anybody that uses radio, does radio astronomy, Starlink can really affect them. But again, I really feel like, now we're in the early stages of it, so we don't have the software out there yet, but I really do believe that anytime something like that happens, we adapt, right?
Yeah. And
we figure out, okay, this software that I'm using, let me somehow in milliseconds, in the snap of a finger, be able to filter out that whatever is not supposed to be there because I know it's going to be there, right? I don't know if that's possible. Within the image world, he's trying to make these things. He's saying he's going to make them dark, where we can't, they don't have any of the sun shining off of them, so we don't see them when they're going through the sky. That's one of his solutions for us. But it's really the radio people that in the guys like the asteroid hunters that I really worry about in it. And the only thing that I would think of is that I think it's great that Elon is doing this, but I would really hope that Elon would also work with these guys. How many developers does he have control over? Maybe he could send some over to these guys and help them come up with a way to develop the software that they're using to use AI or something, machine learning, to figure out how to filter this stuff out, get around it, something like that. So I don't know. I mean, so I don't hate it. I do know it affects a lot of people, but it's really not. It's not hurting us like it does some of the other guys. So for astrophotography, we might have to throw out an image every once in a while, but it really doesn't affect us like it does the actual radio astronomy guys or the near Earth object guys and stuff like that.
Have the improved Starlink satellites with the different coats of paint or the sunshades on them, are y'all actually seeing a noticeable improvement since they've started doing it?
I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
I don't have a. I don't. That's probably something that needs to be done with a group of us, is to find to do like a coordinated like watch party for Starlinks to see these. If I imagine they have a way to tell us which ones have the new coatings on them and stuff, so that we could schedule to image a section of the sky as they're coming through, as they do a transit. And
you might have something if you can line up the TLEs with the with when they will launch, possibly, or I'm not sure. There's probably a way you figure it out with their with their ID and all that stuff of which one they will launch on, and if they had them.
Right.
I'm sure we know probably plenty of people who can figure that one out. People way smarter than us.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a huge collaboration effort that can go on with you guys taking photos and like us actually telling you which ones are which. So
yeah. So
easily.
Yeah, so I know that there's a way to do this. We should probably do it and see. It's easy to just complain about something and not actually take the time to see if your complaint's valid or not. Just join in on the Debbie Downer side, the half glass empty side. But and I don't want to do that. I really do believe that Starlink is going to help a lot of people, and the things I'm more worried about is space is getting pretty full. Our area around Earth is getting pretty full. How in the world are we launching and not getting hit by a bolt, a nut, something up there, man?
That is
yeah, so
and we're getting more and more close collisions with old satellites and pieces of debris that are getting scary.
And then another one is so I'm a kind of a sci-fi guy. Star Wars, Star Trek, and Back to the Future kind of got me into the sci-fi world.
We approve.
Yeah. So I don't know if y'all were ever Stargate fans, but there is an episode where they put satellites up in the air, and the guy that built them turned out to be a pretty bad tool and turned them on against Earth. So let's make sure Musk doesn't have the he doesn't have his flamethrowers hooked up to him.
Like Blue Origin's rockets when they start launching.
Right.
I'm actually more worried about the other rocket billionaire being more like a Bond villain.
He looks like a Bond villain. Like the 100% looks like a Bond villain.
Why did Walmart satellites go out? We can't figure it out.
We launched Falcon 9 and it just blew up. I don't know what happened. Something just hit it.
So anyway, so that's kind of my kind of my thoughts on that. So I can't, I you know, I man, I it's like, today in this age, for people to not have internet is a tough one, right?
Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, then you have all these people, these scientists and stuff that are doing stuff that they're finally getting, their technology is getting so great, and now we're throwing throwing them a curveball, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like you kind of between it's like Homer Simpson. He's on that he's the brick wall and the like between a rock and a hard place. He's on the whatever that the ball that swings.
Yeah.
Wrecking ball. He's on the wrecking ball, and he's like he's between a rock and the wrecking ball or something. I don't remember how it was, but
and just constantly getting smashed.
Just constantly getting smashed. Right, one side is always getting smashed by this stuff. So I don't know, man. I don't know what I think we should work together. I'll tell you what I really think. I know Elon watches y'all's show, so I'm going to throw this out there.
Yep. Yeah, he's an avid.
He's got SpaceX guys monitoring everything, right? So here's the deal, Elon. They're getting ready, here soon to retire the Hubble telescope, Hubble Space Telescope. You need to buy that and give it back to the astronomy world. Oh. Buy that, do the upgrades to it that needs to be done, and make that available to the astronomy world, to the amateur astronomy world. That would be right crazy. There would be huge. That would be amazing. And so
my always thought was on the back of Starlink satellites, throw miniature satellite,
right.
Then use them as an array to be able to capture photos. So you can pretty much use the entire Earth if people can gather up enough time. Imagine the power of that. A bunch of smaller telescopes in space that cover the entire Earth pretty much.
Yeah. There's actually some cool stuff coming out like that. Some people launching, actually using SpaceX to launch, some of these space telescopes up into space for people to actually use, and so that's going to be kind of cool. So that's kind of already happening a little bit, but a space telescope on the back of every Starlink, dude, that'd
that'd just be insane.
So cool.
Imagine what was it, Event Horizon telescope? I can't remember what it was called. For the get the picture of the black hole, but you could just do that continuously. It wouldn't be as hard. You just be like, okay, yep, point here, got one. Point here, got one. Easy.
Yep. Oh man.
So go ahead, Wade.
No, that's it on that. So you have any other questions for me?
Daryl, what do you got?
Oh man. I don't think we have enough time for me to really pick your brain.
We might have to bring you back on and then continue this conversation.
Oh yes.
Yeah, no
Especially
problem.
when I learned a little bit more, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, no idea.
Well, you know what, Seth? I may be spending the first half of November in Florida just because of chasing these launches and whatnot. So you know what? I'm gonna bring my stuff and we're gonna try some stuff out.
Yes,
sure.
I have free time now.
So So if you've got you got that SkyGuider Pro, if you have like a 50 millimeter scope or 50 millimeter lens for your camera, man, you can get some great Milky Way shots with that. So
I do need to try that. I know one thing I want to try and get at some point during fall and winter this upcoming season. I just found out that you don't really need a stupid long focal length for it. Actually, you don't need anything crazy. Andromeda, the Andromeda Galaxy.
Oh yeah,
you don't need anything terribly crazy for it. Yeah. So I definitely want to give that a shot. Plus, again, with Orion coming up, that was one of my targets last cold weather season, and I've learned a bit more, and I think I want to give it a try again. Yeah. So that's the two big ones that I want to work on.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, I bought me a Canon T3i on eBay. I got it for I got it and 3 lenses for like $300. And I removed the IR cut filter out of it. I did an Astro mod on it. And so now it can see it really pulls in the reds. Hydrogen is it's the like most there's more hydrogen in space than any other element, and
Mhm.
so so a lot of stuff up there is red and everything, and the IR cut filter will kind of remove a lot of that. So there in the Orion area, there's something called the Horsehead Nebula. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with that.
Yeah.
And I was trying to take images of that with my D750, and just it wouldn't come through. And so once I pulled this filter out of my T3i, um, it'll capture all of that. So you can always get you a cheap camera like that off eBay and do you a mod to it. You know, do as much of a clean room as you can when you do it, but you can. I mean, you know, it's a camera you don't have to spend much money on and try it. You might even be able to buy one that's already been astro modded.
Yeah.
So
Real
yeah.
fast, what's your feeling on drop-in filters, like clip-in filters? Because I actually have a is it a CCD? I'd have to go back and find it. One's a hydrogen alpha filter, and the other one is the I want to say it is CCD for high light pollution.
So it'll be like it'll be usually those are called CLS. City light suppressant or something.
Yep. Yep.
CLS, something like that. So I've got an Astronomique filter for that Canon.
That's who I got them from too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got a clip-in filter for that. I've got a couple of other ones. I've got one for I've got some other different clip-in filters, some kind of narrow band type stuff, kind of like you have the HA. I have some other ones like that. So yeah, those are great, man. They work. They can work really well. I'm finding that the city light pollution stuff. So there's one that's real popular. A company called Optolong. They have like the L series, which is like the L Pro, the L Extreme, and the L Enhance. And their L Pro is that's what it is. It's a light pollution filter. And in Bortle 9, it just does not. It's just not doing that great.
Really?
But when you get into something less than that, like say a 7 or a 6, something like that, then it starts to work a lot better. Okay. It's just that Bortle 9, man. It's just so hard to cut through that. So
yeah.
So depending on your area, those are going to work differently. But your HA, I don't know what kind of. So when you look at your wavelength, the scale. So the dynamic range. I'll say it like this. Are y'all like OLED fans?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So like your dynamic range in an image when you take it, you have like 0 to no light to whatever, depending on your bit rate. You can go like 16-bit would have like 65,000 on the other end. Well, your dynamic range on there, you have. You know what? I'm talking about two different things. Let's get off that. So let's go back to the HA filter. So on your HA filter, you have a band pass, where different lights come in, different colors come in, I should say, and different light for different colors come in at different wavelengths on that. So man, people are gonna make fun of me if I don't remember this. The wavelength for HA is like 695, 695.6. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. I'm having a brain fart. But your HA filter should filter everything else out before that and after that. Should just let the light so HA gives off a light. It gives off a red light, and that red in the HA spectrum, we know falls at that 695, 696, something like that. And on that scale. And so it only allows that light to come through. So if you put that filter on, you're blocking like any kind of light pollution or anything like that. The moon causes light pollution. Your city street lights, stuff like that. It'll block all that any other area that they're at in the spectrum. It'll block those and just allow that HA light to come through. So whenever you're using that, an HA filter will just allow HA just allow the light that HA emits to come through on that filter. So it will help in light polluted areas. Now that's really good when it comes to mono cameras. And don't try to take a color camera and just switch it to mono. That didn't work. So, but it comes to, see, that's a whole nother hour of discussion there. But it comes to mono cameras, it's great. They have the highest quantum efficiency. They let the most photons in, and they actually stick. And when they hit that filter, they come through, and it's just that HA data that comes through. Man, it is. So that picture that I'm showing on my screen, I think it's still up there. That's done in hydrogen, oxygen, and sulfur. So it's 3 different filters. So I had to spend time on each filter shooting this. And when that HA data came in from this, dude, I teared up a little. It was, I could not believe just how beautiful it was. Just that HA data that came through. So so HA filters, filters like that are really awesome, and they can take really cool images. But just know, when you map that HA, like if you're in Photoshop or whatever, and you map that to something, you're only mapping it to one color. So if you just have HA by itself, you might just have a black and white photo, right? Which isn't bad. It still looked good, but you just mapped it to one thing. Now, if you shot in color for a little bit and used your light pollution filter and shot for a little bit, and then threw the HA filter on and then shot with that, and then stacked those together, you would add that HA data, which would give you more detail. So you could stack those together. You could combine those and get more detail out of that image. So,
man, there's so much to learn. Wade, before we go, where can we, us and everybody listening and watching, where can we follow you? Where can we follow along with everything that's going on, and for the rest of us to pick up on this stuff and learn how to do it?
Yeah, okay. So you can follow me. I'm on Instagram, and it's just at Wade Prunty. I'm on Twitter at Wade Prunty. I don't spend a whole lot of time on Twitter as much as I used to. Instagram's kind of become the de facto for images, but I still do get on Twitter sometimes. But everything I do is at Wade Prunty.
Okay.
So the
links are all in the description, by the way, as well.
Okay, awesome. And then I'm on Clear Skies Network on Twitch. So Dustin from OPT, the CEO that I was talking about, he started it, and a bunch of us came on there, and a bunch of us are just, we're not these experts. I've really, like I said, have only been successfully imaging since February of this year, and I've just learned a lot. And I usually give this speech of, like, I'm a musician. I grew up in a guitar store. I was there all the time. I was there so much that the owner finally offered me a job. I ended up working there, and I learned a lot of the tricks that I know of guitar from watching these other guys, being around them, talking to them. And we kind of lost that with the internet because we have nowhere to go. Well, this Twitch stream has turned into that. You can go there, you can watch people that know what they're doing, talk about it. You can be in the chat, and you can actually ask questions, and people answer you right away. So you're actually getting that knowledge, like you're sitting at an astronomy store almost, or something like that, or in a classroom. So the Twitch stream was huge for me. It helped me immensely. So it was kind of one of those watershed moments that I was just struggling, and then that was there, and I was able to do that. So so it's Twitch/Clear Skies Network. No, just all one word across there. And I stream on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
We pretty much have people on all the time. Like we have Stella was in the stream. She's in Australia. She streams late at night for us. It's evening for her. She streams a couple times a week. We got another guy named Andy that streams also from Australia. We have Bill Nash, who streams on Monday nights. He's probably streaming right now. He does all the tech stuff.
I hopped over there to put the link in there. There's like a Mac Mini on the table, and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, he's doing crazy stuff.
Right. So, and that's exactly what it is, and it's awesome. So, tearing things apart, fixing it, figuring out how things work. So, and then we have we have a professor that gets on and does. I think right now he's going over planetarium stuff. His name's Dave. He's usually on before me on Wednesday nights, and then after me on Wednesday nights is usually the asteroid hunters, and they're doing they're doing near Earth object searches or confirmations for they work with programs that work directly with NASA to do that. So they're on, and then Dustin, the CEO, he streams usually on Thursday and Friday nights. And then Stardom Space, Ron, we call him Ron Comet. I don't even know what Ron's actual last name is. But the first night he was on the stream with us, the image we took, there was a comet that went through it, and he's been Ron Comet ever since. And so, but he's got a Stardom Space thing, and he does this thing, Space Fam. So it's just he's got like astronauts and engineers and stuff, and they stream on Saturday nights at like 9 p.m. Central, so 7 p.m. Pacific, I think, on Saturday nights. And then, depending on how good of a night's going, or how many adult beverages we've had, we might continue that stream going on Saturday nights. So
nice.
It's a lot of fun, man. We have a lot of fun on there. We're not all of us are not just these just science experts that will throw you under the bus if you say something wrong. And I say stuff wrong all the time. I'm pretty much new to this, and I'm just trying to share what I've learned. I've learned it. I knew how frustrating it was for that year when I couldn't get anything done, and it just kind of put in me a passion to help other people figure out how to do this and know that they can do it. I'm doing it in the worst skies in the world, and it can be done in the worst skies in the world. So
that's incredible. All of my nights are now spoken for, because I know what I'm watching every night now.
Making them busy. So thank you so much, Ray, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a trip. I feel like we've bonded. We've cried together. We've laughed together.
It's been a trip through the skies.
We've all had photos together.
We're Saints fans, so we've definitely cried together.
Oh, man.
You've cried several times together, especially a few weeks ago when Aaron Rodgers is, and
you want to go there?
Yeah, you went there. And
really?
I could go. I can grab my Packers hat. I can throw it on.
We've worn paper bags on our heads together. Saints fans definitely understand that one.
Right.
Back in the days of the
Packer fans, we have been bare chested and negative 30 wind chill together.
Woo-hoo.
Bonding. We're gonna have to do this again, so make sure everyone, if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, follow us on Twitter, and leave a like, subscribe, and we will also be making sure this gets posted in audio format as well for everyone who listens there. So leave a review if you're listening there, and we'll see you guys all next week.
Bye, y'all.